Just as we have decided to stop talking about ZXMoto, a new Chinese motorcycle company has decided to engage in some crazy fuckery. Logan, you've done some dedicated research on this new company, ZXMoto. This is a weird one. What's going on?
This is definitely a weird one. In the wake of all the EICMA stuff, catching up on everything this morning, I wasn't expecting to be so radicalized by Chinese propaganda before 11 a.m. But here we are. I've done some research, uncovered some bit of mystery and allure surrounding ZXMoto and the big waves they're making in the motorcycle industry.
Well, at first glance, when I saw this news roll across my desk, the name, the ZXMoto, I'm like, wow, that sounds familiar. And then the bike itself, the 500cc four-cylinder, vaguely resembles Honda DNA, ZX DNA. Is this just a complete IP egregious copycat bike? What's going on?
So the story goes a little bit deeper than that, actually. There's definitely some sort of IP infringement going on. You can even look at that same 500cc four-cylinder platform has been adapted into a retro look that looks exactly like the CB500F that Honda has been teasing to launch in Japan like any day now. Like literally exactly to a T.
Yeah, that one I saw, and we're actually going to put these both up on screen. The ZX and then the actual Honda version. It is uncanny, and it's egregious. Yeah. It's like, come on, guys.
But like I said, the story goes a little bit deeper, and takes some bizarre turns. So the ZX name, it's not a Kawasaki ripoff. It might be a little bit of a Kawasaki ripoff, but it's the name of Zhang Su, who, if people are well versed in the Chinese motorcycle space, was the founder and CEO of Cove Motorcycles that does the kind of MX and rally stuff, and it has some kind of decent reputation as far as Chinese motorcycles go.
I heard the Cove is actually like a pretty good bike. I've never ridden it, but the people who are into that scene are like, it actually works pretty well as a rally bike.
It competes in like Dakar and stuff.
Yeah.
And you might think, why is the founder of a company just leaving the company outright? He comes out and says it in the EICMA global press launch for ZXMoto that he was fired from Cove, which then you think, okay, it's kind of, the founder gets fired, something, strange has happened. The details we don't know, but he decided, hey, I'm going to go out on my own again, a second time, and make a new motorcycle company, ZXMoto. This time, previously with Cove, he was invested in the off-road stuff. I guess that is this man's area of expertise formerly. But now he's leaning more into road racing, which is another element that makes this even more confusing and complicated, is the ZXMoto 820 RR RS, which is going to be competing in World Supersport in the 2026 season. This brand came out.
If I can jump in really quick, I just wanted to say the branding for the ZXMoto, it's like a mismatch of like Kawasaki ZX and CFMoto.
Yeah.
I think maybe it was just a happy accident that his name ended up working like that, but I feel like he's going to grab some brand cachet from both of those.
Right.
And then, I don't know why the Chinese love using like SR, SS, SSR, SS. Like the CFMoto bikes are like that too.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to chime in with that. But
definitely.
Keep going.
So, the 820 3-cylinder. 3 cylinders are all the rage in the super sport category these days.
R9 whipping up.
And according to the EICMA press launch, I of course have not ridden this bike. Does this bike actually exist? I don't know. But according to the EICMA press launch, it's making the race version, the RS trim, 150 horsepower, supposedly. Lots of comparisons between other sport bikes in the category, other sport bikes not even in the category. Supposedly, this bike has superior acceleration and shorter braking distances than just every motorcycle ever made in humankind, according to this press launch.
I will say, we were doing the research on this, and Logan's laptop was blasting Chinese propaganda.
Absolutely.
That's what it kind of felt like.
And because that's where it gets even...
Did you use a VPN? Did you make sure your internet connection was secure before accessing?
I mean, I'm on the shop's internet connection, so who knows what,
Oh, man.
data they're going to hack into and what targeted ads we're going to start getting. TikTok shop is going to download right into my brain. But because, that gets is kind of where we're going. The bikes themselves is interesting and weird. Why are there more Chinese ripoff bikes? And so I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. I want to learn more. Why is this, bike competing in World Supersport, supplanting Yamaha, which had worked with Evans Bros for like years, I've been told. And the R9, obviously a great platform in that racing series right now. So where does this company that's existed for like less than a year, from a dethroned former co-founder and CEO, have the funds to poach a racing team for World Super Sport. That raises some red flags, right?
It's all very suspicious. Well, raising red flags,
Yeah,
Logan. That's
pun
what they're trying to do.
intended. Yeah,
That's what they're
exactly.
trying to do. They're trying to raise those red flags.
And in contrast to some of these other Chinese manufacturers that are trying to eschew their Chinese origin, ZXMoto is a perfect example. You see very few indications that these bikes come from China. They're trying to lean into, global markets and be a global brand. ZXMoto, on the other hand, like their race bike livery has like the Chinese flag on it.
It's not something we've seen.
Yeah.
Because, I feel like a lot of Chinese companies try to, obfuscate the fact that they're Chinese, because I believe that a lot of customers are like, they don't want to buy Chinese, or,
Right.
they may think something about Chinese products. But these guys, like the marketing material, like, the guys like, we're going to like, play the Chinese national anthem when
exactly.
we win races all the time.
Yeah, like it literally says that, and you guys can look it up. You can do your own research. As they say, there's tons of really bizarre, interesting videos and marketing materials that have come from this company. The weird thing just from the jump is like the CEO is like in everything. Like he's on like Instagram reels and like
Trying to do
Facebook
like a Steve
videos.
Jobs thing. He's
Exactly.
like, I'm the guy.
Yeah, he's the guy. And I guess that has sort of the story of his departure with Cove and this new era of excellence. Their slogan's something about like live with passion or something like that. Like he's very much trying to prove a point.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David starts the spite coffee shop. Like everyone starts starting spite businesses solely because they were wronged by another company.
But I do want to add one caveat to that Chinese national anthem thing. In world level racing, what usually happens is they play the anthem of the rider who has won the race. So often in MotoGP, you'll hear the Italian and Spanish national anthem pretty much every weekend. So perhaps they have some sort of like Chinese super soldier rider who's going to go there and like crush everybody, because otherwise they're not going to play the Chinese national anthem.
Definitely.
I just wanted to put that out there because that's just a small caveat there. If someone were to tell me design a perfect street motorcycle, well, it may end up looking something like this Honda Hornet CB750. I don't mean to glaze this bike too much, but it really is that good. Take everything you like from an MT-07 or other street-going motorcycles, blend them all together, and give a fun package, all with the Honda refinement and reliability you've come to expect. Best part about this bike, it's a giveaway motorcycle on yammynoob.co. Hit the link down below and become a member today for your best chance to win. This giveaway is going to wrap up before the end of the year, so your time is running out. Hit that link below and get started today. The other thing I wanted to say too, and speaking of their marketing materials, it very much seems like it was put together very quickly, right? Like there's typos everywhere. Yeah. They're using like weird AI deep fakes on his face and stuff like that. It's the editing is a little rough, because like the face appears then it disappears. It's very uncanny valley. And like watching a man be like deep faked and dubbed English after speaking Chinese, talking about how like the Chinese will like rise. I'm kind of like, all right, do we need to like, inform Congress of what's happening with ZXMoto?
It's definitely a very bizarre thing. And that leads me to believe, because like in China, they have their own internet, right? Like it's called the Great Firewall. So I've been told, lots of government censorship, their own apps, their own websites and everything. So my thinking, because you think, it's a pretty big jump from having 300 subscribers on your company's main YouTube channel and then building a bike for super sport racing like within the same 6-month period, you know? Which leads me to believe maybe there's a whole other marketing arm in China for ZXMoto that has the undubbed and undeep faked versions of this stuff, because it's weird. There's a whole catalog of weird promotional material that definitely starts bordering on propaganda.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there's the one that's like, it's a Hallmark movie meets a motorcycle advertisement meets this weird Chinese propaganda thing, like an 8-minute video about their 500 cc sport bike. Very, very bizarre. And like he's in it too. They have all these actors and things, but then he plays himself in the end, the founder.
He's a biopic, but he's the actor in it, in his own life,
And so maybe that begs the question too, because we talk about, these Chinese companies that steal ideas, steal tech solely for the points of making like high margin bikes that they can make money from and undercut competition and stuff. Maybe this ZXMoto is truly fueled by passion. Maybe building...
It's fueled by something, because this guy's motivated. I mean, you got to hand it to him. He's in every video. He's like, this company will be my greatest life's achievements. I think he mentioned that in the EICMA launch. So, like, he seems highly motivated. So it doesn't exactly seem like a faceless Chinese company that's just like, we're going to make as much money as possible.
Right.
But I'm like, but it's so slapdash, you know, like it's so sloppy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And yeah, like I don't want to harp on this because it does feel like punching down a little bit, but you know, it's like for the Chinese companies, some of them are coming up with unique ideas. Like ZXMoto's brand design language, I think is unique to some extent, but God, this bike really, to me, like you squint and you're like, yeah, it kind of just looks like any other Japanese bike, you know? It's very derivative.
Yeah, and I don't really understand how you can just like bootstrap a motorcycle company from the ground up, right? Like it's not like opening like a small scale brewery or whatever. Right. It's like
it's kind of a big
making
operation.
Motorcycles, yeah, it's a big operation. And like I don't know, there's a lot of murky details on who's designing the engines, where it's coming from, where they have manufacturing. The whole thing is this weird kind of, call me crazy, call me conspiratorial. Seems a little bit of like a psyop, you know what I mean? Like they just put this guy here and like, okay, you got a story that will radicalize people, that'll get people fired up about Chinese-made products. Because he even said, that I built this bike to win the World Supersport Championship and to not just advocate for Chinese motorcycles, but Chinese products. Like that's like a verbatim quote, is he wants people to change their perception about Chinese products.
So you think there's some sort of like Chinese puppeteer in the background, like controlling the strings and basically being like, all right, this is going to be an avenue for us to increase Chinese presence in motorcycling.
Maybe.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, like you said, like where'd all the money come from? You know, like a lot of Chinese companies do this where there's, in my mind, it's like some sort of like CCP slush fund that they just access, you know, kind of like CFMoto just making new engines at will, or like DJI just like, you know, having an infinite marketing budget or doing whatever. You're like, yeah, this is interesting how they operate, you know?
Yeah. Or it could be maybe this guy has just actual altruistic intentions, and maybe he's sick of the TikTok shop stuff, the Temu stuff, the Alibaba stuff. Maybe he's like, I am a Chinese man and I like high powered quality motorcycles and I want to make more of that. But that, then raises questions about then why don't they have original designs and things like that? Because it is interesting in the press launch when he's talking about the bike specifically, like at least on paper, they are impressive. Like the 500cc sport bike, inline four, making like 80 something horsepower, weighs 370 pounds, you know? Yeah. Even the boom, not the boom, even the Voom 500 from CFMoto is down on power, significantly heavier. And then of course you compare that to like the 500 parallel twins we have here in the States. It's like a night and day difference. Even the 820 in the RS trim, the race trim, 150 horsepower, 386 pounds wet, supposedly, you know, that's pretty interesting.
It's the Daytona I've always dreamed of.
Yeah. But again, it's like, if it's that easy that a guy can just do it in a year, like I said, and that, again, this is all in the EICMA launch stuff. I'm not pulling these figures out of my thin air. The 500cc sport bike, they've sold already 10,000 units since like March. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And
I'm like, who's buying them? I guess they sell them in China, right? Yeah.
And then according to the other comparison figures of, you know, Q1, Q2, Q3, sales figures for ZXMoto, this 500, I guess, is like one of the best selling 500cc sport bikes currently, which is really weird and confusing.
But, you know, it's one of those things where I think from our, like, American perspective, sometimes, you know, like, I'd never heard of ZXMoto until this week. I'd never heard of this brand. And yet they've sold 10,000 motorcycles around the world that, I'm so far away from it, right? Like, it's weird that even though we're in this giant connected globe through the internet and everything else, like culture feels like very flattened and homogenized. There still is like stuff happening you've never even heard about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It's almost inspiring, right? Like you think you've been exposed to everything. Right. But no, there's whole cultures and things that we may never even get to see or experience. I don't have any travel plans to China. I don't know about you, but
not in the near future. No, but maybe someday just to see what they got going on over there. I've heard of people visiting for like a week or two just to kind of like see what's over there, you know. And people are like, "Wow, it's really impressive what's happening over there." Yeah, you know, you mentioned ZXMoto kind of spinning up overnight. It reminds me of those videos of, you know, Chinese building like a bridge or a building in like 48 hours or whatever. Totally. And you're like, that is very impressive, obviously, the speed at which they can do it. But there is a trade-off, I think, perhaps in quality. And, like, you know, earthquakes happen in some of those regions. And they're like, yeah, like 10,000 buildings got decimated. I'm like, that's insane. Like, did they not think to maybe build them in a certain way? Or, like, was it too fast the way they built it, you know? And I think that's the perception that Chinese bikes have right now.
And I think too fast could be an intentional pun, but too fast is a apropos segue to when you think about, and we're not supposed to be talking about ZXMoto, but the way they kind of toiled behind the scenes before kind of launching in America, right?
Yeah.
Like they had a presence with ATVs, side by sides, all this stuff since like the 80s, right? And then when they came to the US, you know, they have a US branch, US headquarters, US marketing team, all this stuff. So it sort of bridges that cultural divide that makes their motorcycles feel more natural here. And their marketing and their brand and the way they do business, everything. And I feel like ZXMoto, doing a global launch, like right off the bat, being like, we want these bikes worldwide when they've only been selling them in China for a year, I think has left the culture of the brand elements like unfinished, unpolished.
Yeah.
Like I said, in these supposedly important videos of launch videos, stuff from EICMA, stuff about the bikes, riddled with spelling errors, the AI deepfake stuff of yourself. And it's like, someone should have looked this over.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you as a Chinese manufacturer, you have an uphill battle in Western markets, you probably should do the legwork and
go above and beyond.
Yeah. And
right.
Especially in regards to packaging and branding and things that matter a lot to people. You know what I mean? It's hard, especially in the wake of, you know, AI slop content and everything. Like people are very skeptical and suspicious of consumer rights, you know, and I think are looking for ways to be like, I'm not going to touch that, you know, or reasons to think I'm not going to touch that when it comes to the products they buy. So it's a very weird situation, you know. Maybe we have ZXMoto, and also I hate the name because it's confusing because I want to say CFMoto or I want to say ZX6R or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. It feels intentional. But I think the real question is, why do all of them have Moto in the name? CFMoto, ZXMoto, LexMoto is one that's in the European zone. I don't know. Maybe it's like, we're going to put Moto so you know what it's about, you know? But we'll see if these ever come to the States and how they compete. I guess they're going to be competing next year in World Super Sport.
2026.
That is a tough series to be in right now, especially with there's so many good bikes. Like, if that bike even does a top 10 ever in the whole season, I'll be very impressed. Yeah. Very impressed.
I mean, and we'll have to see. Like I said, he founded Cove. Cove has not won any, but they finished Dakar. Like, I think the first year they did it, like all three bikes finished or something, which even that is
that's
feat
already
in
good,
itself.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe, he's, like I said, the optimist take could be, maybe he's like just an overly passionate, mad genius type of guy that's doing all this crazy stuff with, you know, unending amounts of money somehow. Or it could be another, you know, kind of grift.
It's hard to tell nowadays.
Yeah.
Anything else on ZXMoto after you did your research?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only other thing is, because they're not just stopping with these race bikes, these sport bikes, they of course want to cross-platform the 820 and then into a naked bike, an adventure bike, and then he's talking about motocross bikes and all this stuff. So like I said, maybe ambitious, mad genius, maybe overly ambitious guy. I don't see. But yeah, this was just kind of the weird Easter egg I wasn't expecting from like EICMA season, you know, to go down this like rabbit hole of ZXMoto.
Yeah, I think this is cool though, because like you contrast this with like Buell, for example, where we kind of often said it's like this is starting to feel like a bit of a grift, a bit of vaporware, and like that's like almost too much hype and too much ambition for the company. They're always thinking about the next thing, and they're always talking about the Super Cruiser's right around the corner. Right. Kind of reminds me of like Tesla's self-driving thing, where it's like it's always 1 year away, you know. I think this is cool. Like even if it is a little slapdash, the fact that it's like we're doing it, it's gonna happen. Like, it may not be perfect, but at least it's going to be real. You know? Like that's commendable, I think.
Yeah, it's like a real, like, balls to the wall mentality. And maybe because he has that experience with Cove and stuff, he's just like, I've done this before, I'm going to do it again as fast as possible.
Well, folks, we will see what happens with ZXMoto. Kind of an interesting new Chinese bike development. Leave a comment down below. Do you think it's just an egregious IP debacle that they're involved in, just aping, design language and nomenclature from existing Japanese brands? Or is this something new and unique and actually nationalistically promoting China at this point? We're entering bold new waters here in the motorcycling world, and we're going to be covering it here on Yami Noob. So thanks so much for checking out today's video. We appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.